Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show, How We Grow. This is your essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business. With advice and insights from the best in the biz, I'm your host, Lynell Gordon. Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show, How We Grow. I'm Lynell Gordon, your host, and I am very excited today to bring to you a technologist in the business who's also a property manager. He is a member of the board of directors right now at VRMA. He's on the board of advisors for technology companies, for companies that work with suppliers. I'm going to get you to tell me a little bit about that. He's also worked as business development manager. He's very accomplished, been doing this for a long time, guys. And I want you to welcome JJ King. JJ, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Yes, thanks so much for having me.
One of the main things I want to talk to you about is technology. I've been so excited about our interview. But first, let's talk about what's happening at VRMA, Vacation Rental Managers Association. I think we're going in a positive direction. Tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I was just recently appointed as a board member, and my thoughts behind it were, there was a lot of negativity in the industry around VRMA, and I did not want to be one of those people, the naysayers, and saying bad things about VRMA. And I thought, instead of hopping on this negativity bandwagon, I wanted to be a part of a positive change. And so thought perhaps I can bring some fresh ideas and kind of turn it around a little bit.
That's exciting. And it's exciting that you took that attitude too. So we're really grateful for that. And we're glad that you're on our board of directors here.
Yeah, thank
Tell us
you.
a little bit about right now, you're the co-founder of a vacation rental management company called Beachside Vacation Rentals. I'm excited to talk about the technology that you're using there. So let's talk just a little bit about how did you get into property management?
Yeah, so I studied hospitality management in college, actually, and worked in a couple of different hospitality roles. And it didn't really find something that I was super passionate about until after graduating, where I kind of picked up this job working with some, call them Airbnb co-hosts, right? So not necessarily full-on professional property management at that point, but we were getting there. And so learned a lot about the vacation rental space and doing Airbnb arbitrage and that sort of thing early on in my career, which helped me learn about scaling a property management company. So that's kind of how I fell into it. Was just that, I didn't want to work at a, front desk at a hotel or as a server or something like that. And so I found another path of hospitality that maybe is not talked about as much in the hospitality school.
One of the things that I think that you guys do is a little unique is how much of your work is remote?
Great question. So my part of Beachside Vacation Rentals is fully remote. So I actually live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and our business is on the East Coast of Florida. So everything that I do is remote. Of course, we've got a great team locally and does the boots on the ground side of the things, but everything that I do on the technology side is remote.
And you live in a really great area, actually. I have a home there. I've spent many years there. That's where I built my business, was in Cary, actually, so very close. I love that area. Let's talk a little bit about the Google review technology that you guys are using. One of the things that really caught my attention about Beachside was when you go online, guys, and you look at their Google reviews, they are like instantaneous, right? Instantaneous, like not really instantaneous, but within 24 to 36 hours, everything has a reply. And it's a good reply. It's not just, it seems to be a very thoughtful reply. And when I was interviewing Riley, I was like, this is just great. It's amazing. He's like, well, that's AI technology. I'm like, there's no way that's AI technology. He's like, it's AI. He said, we're integrating it with Google this way. And you guys are using Zapier. Now, guys, I don't know if you know what Zapier is. Zapier is like, to me, when I think about Zapier, I think about those little alphabet blocks we had when we were children, where we took alphabet blocks and we put words together with them. Like you had the whole alphabet and you could make words with them. Well, Zaps are kind of like that. You can connect applications in the same way. If this happens, let's do this. If this happens, let's do this. And it's fundamentally a very simple platform but it does remarkable things. I use it for some of our nonprofit work. Tell us a little bit about how you use it, JJ.
Yeah, that's a great descriptor of Zapier as well. We use it in a lot of different parts of our business, but specifically for the review aspect of it. So whenever we get a Google review in, it triggers in Zapier, and then it sends that over to OpenAI, who's the makers of ChatGPT, and it ingests that review, and then it will kind of spit a response out. So it does take a little bit of finagling with the prompting to make sure that it's giving you the responses that you'd like, but truly is something that has kind of changed the way that we do business. Is that anything that could be maybe a repetitive task, we've tried to see how can we automate some of these and let our staff do things that can't be done with technology. So that's definitely one of them that, instead of having somebody spend a couple hours a week responding to reviews, why not have them automatically respond to? I think it is important to note here that it's easy to go too far with AI and have AI kind of do everything for you. And I would warn against that because it does come off as inauthentic. So that's something that we've also kind of learned the hard way and tried to tweak. So yeah, that's how it works though, basically. So it sends it off to OpenAI. OpenAI ingests the review content and then creates an answer and then sends it back to Google My Business to answer that. We have a bit of a delay on there too, just so it's not it looks a little bit more realistic than the instant somebody posts something, but it is within a few minutes normally.
So here's the other thing that's interesting. Okay, so a lot of the times when people put reviews in, they say, I didn't get enough sheets, or my towels were dirty, or I needed XYZ. Now you handle that through using a Slack channel, right? You've got Slack set up and open and you're integrating. So tell me a little bit about how that works.
Yes, we have a lot. I'd say in the past 6 months, we've put a lot of effort into just our entire reputation management process. So, obviously it starts off with a good product. So you can't do any of these fun automation things if you don't have a good product and you don't have good guest experience. So got to give kudos to, our on the ground team and our guest services team for uh, helping us create this amazing product. But once you have good product and good expectations, right? You got to have the guest expectations have to be in line as well. Because if you're advertising a luxury place and they get there and it's low quality, that's going to be a differentiator there
It's
too.
not, it's really hard to help a reputation
Right,
when
right.
you're
So
not being honest about your product.
exactly. But assuming those things are all in place, the very first step of kind of where we start that reputation management is actually a checkout survey, and this is done through a guest app called SweetOp. And once a guest checks out, they'll see the checkout instructions, and then it'll ask, "Have you checked out?" They click, "Yes, I've checked out." Pops up with a little survey, just 1 to 5 stars. Did you enjoy your stay? Um, and then provide any feedback. If it's a 5 star on the checkout survey, it then goes over to Google reviews right from that checkout survey and prompts them to leave a review. If it's anything other than 5 stars, it sends us an internal notification in Slack on the checkout survey that says this guest left a 4 star. Here's the feedback, or they left, something lower. And it tags our entire customer service team. So whoever's working at that time says, "Hey, you got a 3 star on a checkout survey, call this guest." And I will tell you that has been a huge help to us, that you can catch something before it goes public on any of the OTAs or on Google to call the guest. And most of the time, the guest just wants to be heard, and so, or sometimes it's a miscommunication as well, where they were upset about something, but it turns out they realize, oh, that wasn't actually the property manager's fault. Maybe that was the condo HOA or whatever. I'm not as upset with the property manager in this case. So catching those negative pieces of feedback before they become actual reviews have been instrumental for us as well. So
I think it's really wonderful the fact that you got a really good balance here, JJ, between uh, very personal interactions and using technology to help you manage it. I spent many years trying to automate repetitive tasks in the property management field. And I just love the fact that today there is so much available for us to do that internally. I mean, you're not calling some vendor and saying, "Hey, I need you to do XYZ." You're actually handling this in house, which is another thing that I thought we should really tell people. There are ways that you can handle these things internally, guys, without having to go to outside sources to integrate with your current technology. Let's do talk about scaling because I'm really impressed with how quickly you guys scaled up. Tell me how quickly you scaled up. How many properties have you gone from in the last 3 years?
So we started off at zero. We started off just with my partner Riley's 8-unit apartment complexes, kind of how we started. And then, one thing led to another, signed a couple of units, and we are well on our way to 300 units right now. So we're currently onboarding a 90-unit condo hotel. So that'll push us up past the 300-unit mark once that all gets set.
That's really remarkable. That's a lot. And you've got a really good system in place and you've got a good team in place. What other kinds of things do you do for reputation management to help you make sure that your guests are happy?
Yeah. So after the reviews go into Slack, then that triggers those auto reviews. So not only are we doing the auto reviews on Google, but we're also using a tool called Bestie to respond to our reviews on the OTA channels. So it's kind of a similar type of thing as the OpenAI Zapier connection, but they have a direct API connection to the OTA, so it allows a better integration than if you were to try and build that out on Zapier yourself. So, because same thing, I don't know if I have any hard data about this, but I think responding to reviews not only helps with the guest feedback, but it also helps with your ranking on the different OTAs. I think Google, Airbnb, Booking.com, whatever it is, they like to see that you're interacting on the platform. And so if you're constantly responding as reviews are coming in, I believe it helps the ranking. Again, I don't have any scientific proof on that, but that's kind of my
And they
knowledge
probably
on
won't.
it.
They're probably not going to give us their algorithm anytime soon.
Yeah.
So I know you've worked as head of operations for Holt for a couple of years. Tell me, how has that? How have you brought anything from there into this into Beachside that you implemented?
Yeah, so that was really just a great learning experience overall. So that company, we started with Airbnb arbitrage and just kind of grew from, okay, we have an Airbnb profile and we're managing these accounts in Airbnb. This was kind of, I would say, earlier on in the short-term rental technology space. There weren't
Hmm.
very many property management systems being offered. Um, Dynamic pricing was still relatively new. So we had these great opportunities to demo a lot of different technology and start implementing things. So I learned how to, implement a property management system. I learned about dynamic pricing and how to get all of that set up. So I would say everything that I learned there gave us kind of this jump start to be able to start a management company without starting from ground zero and not knowing anything.
Built by property managers for property managers. Streamline is a powerful software that gives managers enterprise-level capabilities to drive more revenue and improve operational efficiency. Migrating to Streamline allows property managers to gain functionality while reducing the need for multiple vendors, improving flow by logging into a single system and reducing redundant technology costs. With Streamline, property managers achieve revenue lifts by leveraging our fully fledged communication center, reservations quoting system, revenue management tools, homeowner acquisition CRM, and powerful direct OTA connections. Streamline also has industry-leading trust accounting and report capabilities to give you clarity in an overall company performance. Learn more about Streamline vacation rental software at streamlinevrs.com.
So, if you were going to give someone advice who's never used any of these technologies, what would you say the kind of rank them for me? Because you can't implement everything, at once. Because when you do it, well, you could, but it's really difficult. You have to have a big staff and a lot of commitment. And I find you miss a lot of things along the way when you do that. It's kind of like implementing a new property management system. You really have to take it piece by piece and put pieces in first and get a base. What would you suggest people start with to help save time and to manage reputation? Which of the technologies would you say was the
That's a great question. I'd say, obviously it depends on what your current software integrates with is going to kind of dictate where you go. But I would say something like starting out learning how to use Zapier is a great place if your current technology works with that, because once you build one Zapier thing to automate one thing, you're going to get really excited and want to start looking how you can build other things. And it's um, pretty quick and easy to get started. Like you said, it's a if then trigger. So as long as you have that mindset of if this thing happens, and for instance, if I get an email, I would like to send a notification in Slack, right? Or possibilities are endless there, but you can get really creative with that. And I think it just allows you to really expand with all of your different efficiencies there.
Let's talk about remote. So, for those of you guys who have remote workers, JJ uses a technology that does note taking and actually spits out like action items. Tell me what you use there. What kind of technology are you using for that?
Yeah, so we have this app, it's called Fellow. And so we use this for our internal meeting agendas. And so it allows you to create meeting agenda templates so that you come to a meeting, everybody hates getting to a meeting and then not having an agenda and not knowing what you're going to talk about. So we implemented this early on, that we've got an agenda. We follow the EOS level 10 format. So, we go through all of those different items, and then this app also has a note taker along with it. So it attaches the notes afterwards of recaps. It'll summarize the action items for each person and also give you a video summary of kind of like the key points that happened in that. So it's coming quite useful many times, whether it's, I forgot that I said that I was going to do something, or it helps with our owner calls as well. Sometimes if an owner says, hey, change the pricing, and then we talk to them 2 months later and they say, I never said that. Just, well, it was on video. So it definitely helps a couple of times there.
So, I know that you're a big data analytics guy too, as far as looking at your data and making decisions. Tell me, what role does your data play in your business?
It's hard to choose KPIs in our industry because it's not I don't know if there's like an industry standard, right? So normally, in like a sales role, for instance, it's very cut and dry on what your KPIs are. In our industry, I think it kind of depends on your business and that sort of thing. But we've done a lot of work just trying to implement KPIs and decide what's the actual important metrics. We're still not there yet. We're still learning, but yeah, data is super important, and trying to get all your data in one place. So right now we're using technology called Airtable, and that it kind of similar to Zapier, just allows you to have a bunch of different integrations all go into one place. I'd say kind of consider it like Excel spreadsheets on steroids, that all kinds of different automations and functions that you can build in there. But we're currently working on trying to get all of our data into Airtable, and then we can perform or make actionable decisions. Right now, our big one is maintenance. So are we making money on maintenance tasks? Are we losing money? If we're losing money, how do we not lose money? So just trying to get all of that data in one place and then be able to say, okay, this property is costing us a lot of money in maintenance. Is it worth keeping on in our rental program? Do we need to cut this property? Do we need to charge the owner more? These are some of the questions that we've been able to ask ourselves with some of the data that we're collecting.
I'm going to do a big shout out to a friend of mine who is the biggest data nerd I know of. He lived on Excel spreadsheets and he does really remarkable. He's an Excel guru with data, exactly what you're talking about, profitability per unit, profitability per process. So, Steve Karen, he now runs the vacation rental division for Inhabit, but I'll bet he would love Airtable. And I'm gonna have to call him and talk to him about that and say, hey, there's this new cool thing out that you can play with your P&Ls with. Let me give it to you. Because I haven't heard of that one. I'm really interested in looking at that myself. Let me ask you this. Can you share recently, you actually one of the things that was interesting, you have like a 1950s home that you're updating. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we bought a just an older house here in Raleigh. Housing market's pretty crazy, so we went the path of by the worst home in the best neighborhood type of thing. So we've got a fixer up home that we've been working on, and it's been going great. It's piece by piece, it's actually a very interesting house in that it has a mother-in-law suite attached to it. So, of course, we run the mother-in-law suite as a vacation rental. So that's been amazing for us. We get to host families coming to Raleigh, and we just do that kind of on our own for fun and little extra income too.
What part of Raleigh did you buy it in?
We are on the west side over kind of near NC State campus.
That's where I have a townhouse there.
Oh,
That area too.
awesome.
It's a really great rental area. It's a fabulous rental market. The market everywhere has been crazy. I think Raleigh is a unique vacation rental. I mean, not vacation rental, a unique sales market in that it really does. It's one of the leading markets in the U.S. It always has been. Well, I don't know always, but in the last 10 years, it has been. I actually am part of that MLS there. I love that area
Awesome.
for sales. It's a really cool. It's a really interesting market there. What advice would you give to property managers that are looking to grow their inventory? What have you found out of the tools and the things that you've shared? What have you found that really helped your scale?
Yeah, that's a great question. So worked as product owner at Ventory for almost 3 years. And so I got to learn a lot about inventory growth and property acquisition there, talking to vacation rental managers across the country and seeing what really works. And a couple of things that I took away there and that we implemented at Beachside VR. The first one goes back to reputation management, actually. So if you search any city, you do city name, vacation rental manager, what pops up first? It's the Google business listings. That comes up before the organic search results do. And so that was when we first started, that was almost one of the first things that I implemented, is that we need to start asking for guests to leave Google reviews instead of other reviews. And that's because it's kind of this flywheel effect that if you have a strong Google business listing, owners are going to call you because you pop up on the search results when they search for the owner's search terms, property management, vacation rental management, whatever it is. So that's one of the biggest ones for organic leads, would be make sure that your Google business, you're pushing reviews to Google business. The other benefit of pushing all of those reviews to Google business is that, of course, eventually you're going to get some negative reviews as well. But if you can just kind of drown those out with all of the positive reviews, it's much better, versus if you're not pushing any positive reviews there, and then you have somebody who's really upset and wants to leave you negative reviews everywhere, you're going to be in trouble. So
Well,
that's
if you're not pushing your positive reviews, then you get nothing but negative reviews.
yeah, great. Great
People
point.
are going to complain when they're not happy, uh, but not often do they laud you when you do really well. So it's
Yeah.
important that you push those. Looking ahead at the technology that you see coming out, JJ, what are you most excited about for the vacation rental industry, and how do you plan to integrate it into Beachside VR?
I think the AI messaging is really exciting. We haven't fully dove in on the guest messaging side just yet. We've just been, again, like I mentioned with the reviews, you have to mess with it a lot to get the authenticity to sound good. And right now it just hasn't been working with us enough to get it fully implemented with our guest services team. But I do think, in the future, guest messaging is something that is interesting. I've talked to some other operators that are doing it, and some that are even going as far as having it fully automated, where their messages are all being sent by AI. So very interesting to see how that progresses. But I think, we're in the hospitality business, so we're always going to have to try and blend efficiency with uh, the personal touch. And I would say I'm worried about losing that personal touch in the hospitality space. And I think we might even see brands go the complete opposite direction and say, we have real humans. We talk to all of our guests. We don't use AI. So it is an interesting kind of future that we're heading into with this.
I love the fact that it's gotten so deep that we're looking at balancing it. I personally don't think we've gotten deep enough on the AI side. I think as we begin to learn the fact that we can personalize the messages that go out to the guest, think about it this way. If you think about all the reviews that you get, you think about the things that people say on a regular basis. This was missing, or this happened during our stay. It really it breaks it down on a much simpler level. So maybe we err on the fact that those 5-star reviews, it's easy to reply to those. Thank you so much. We're glad you enjoyed, and pulling those pieces out with AI. We're glad you enjoyed this part of it, or whatever the verbs are that they use with that. I think it's a lot easier to reply to a 5-star, I'm happy review than the 4-star, you missed out. So I think if we start at the top and then we go down, we can slowly but surely blend it effectively, like you're talking about. That's my 2 cents as a technologist too.
And there's some really exciting things coming out with the AI tools that are on the market right now. So Bestie and Host AI and a couple of the other AI messaging tools have the capability now to be able to pull out action items or to-dos from reviews and from your messaging. So that's another really exciting part, because that's something that gets missed quite frequently if it's in a review or it's in a guest message, but it wasn't necessarily an immediate action item that your team wanted to hand over right that second. Sometimes it just gets buried and forgotten about. But how many times there were people saying there's a hole in this, screen on the patio or something like that, where it's a smaller issue, but it could add up and compound. And now all your 5-star reviews are turning into 4-star reviews just because the general feel of a bunch of small things adding up. So I think that's another really exciting thing that's happening with AI right now.
I agree. That's thrilling. That's not to miss anything is what, every operations operator's dream. Don't miss any of the small stuff, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the cleaning part of when people first walk in
Mhm.
and they are able to see what it looks like, whether it's clean or if there's these little things, that those types of things really make a huge impression, when they first see it. So I think that as we grow, I hope that will be a part that gets picked up, like you talk about, where we don't miss the little things. JJ, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else you want to say before we go?
No, I just thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been great chatting, and I really appreciate it.
If people want to reach out to you, because I think they will, I was really excited to hear about the way that you were implementing it. Would you be willing to talk to them?
Yeah, absolutely. I love networking calls. I probably have, I would say, at least one a week, talking to some other property managers. And I am a big person. I'm a big learner. I love seeing what other people are doing as well. So would love to chat. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, or give me an email at jj@beachsidevr.com.
That's awesome. I've got somebody in Raleigh who's a property manager there that I'm going to connect with you this week. I'm going to
Oh
send an email
yeah.
because I think that here's the real power in what you're doing. It truly, if you can take away a lot of the communication issues and automate a lot of the communication, you really can grow more quickly. It does affect scalability because you don't have to have, someone that's their single job. You can actually automate pieces. So thank you for being with us and sharing that with us. I really appreciate it. Wishing you best at Beachside VR. I'm looking to see what happens in the next year. And so hopefully we can catch up with you, in 6 or 7 months after this next season. You can tell us what's new and what worked and what didn't.
Yeah, I would love to. Thanks so much.
Thanks, JJ.
This episode of How We Grow is brought to you by Streamline. To find out more about how Streamline can help grow your vacation rental business, visit streamlinevrs.com. Make sure to search for How We Grow in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team here at Inhabit, thanks for listening.